Folks, just have a look at this rock. This purplish, black, shiny, looks almost like volcanic type rock with this gravel in between. All these steps. It looks beautiful. Obviously the rain has eroded. They had some good rains here. Rain has eroded a lot of the rocky stuff in between. But yeah, this is why we do the 4x4. It's in some cases undescribable, in some cases it's just you want to be able to show everybody and test your vehicle, test your skills, everything at the same time. It's 4x4ing, man. But anyway, I digress. Karoo vegetation. Now, the karoo is also known as the succulent karoo, and flower time is normally around August and mostly on the west coast side. The karoo is also known for all the fynbos. Now, the fynbos is basically the whole little corner of the Western Cape, and it's one of the most diverse flower kingdoms in the world. And folks, it's under threat. Less than 20% remains unspoiled. That's very little. Causes include agriculture, invasive alien species, urban development, frequent wildfires caused by humans. The Cape Floral Kingdom is one of the richest floral kingdoms in the world. It's even more rich than the Amazon rainforest, believe it or not. Most of them low-lying shrubs and fat plants. I don't know what the translation is for that. That makes the Western Cape of South Africa the most botanically diverse floral kingdom in the world. Unfortunately, we have close to 1,700 species of plants in the process of dying out. That's why this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So please folks, when you go out into the bush, when you go out into the Karoo and even around the Cape and those places, leave no trace. If there's no track for you to drive on, you shouldn't be there. You should not be there at all. Try to maintain, stick only to the roads, leave only your footprints behind. Paw by paw, papa. Kijk aan, zo, kijk waar toe gaan hy pad. Kijk waar toe gaan hy pad. Afgronde in. Wow. You. You. Nee? You. Ja, sluk af. Sluk net af. Zo, nie worry. Moenie laat die brieke lak nie. Wow. Wow. Folks, another one of those nuggets. It's a metal pig or an iron pig hole. They mightn't stay in there, I think. Who knows? It's another one of those misties in the Karoo. Right folks, sometimes you're faced with an overwhelming situation. You don't know what to do, 4x4 case. And I'm stuck with one of those right now. Have a look at this. The rock, in the middle of the road. Can't go either side. There's only one way to sort this out. Overcame that. That was hectic. So yeah folks, the waterfall route. Grade 2 route, very beautiful route. Takes you through all of that. And not very technical. One or two spots that might be a little bit tricky. We did it in low range. And no diff locks, no nothing, car just drifted up, tire pressures at 1.6 and kicked once or twice. That was about that. We're on our way back now, and yeah, it took us quite a couple of hours to do, but it was fun. It's nice slow going through the rocks and low range first gear most of the routes, maybe second gear, maybe third gear somewhere along the line, but most of the time first gear, nice slow cruise through the Fynbos, and it's just magnificence. Love the Karoo, baby, love the Karoo. Pathfinder fuel economy. Contradiction in terms. That's what most people will say about the 4-litre V6. The diesel, very light on fuel. I have a Navara Bucky double cab 4-cylinder turbo diesel, very light on fuel. I mean, even in city driving we struggle to get it below 10 k's to a litre, and it doesn't go over or under 11 kilometers per litre. And city, you know, in that bracket up to 13 kilometers per litre that thing gets. 4-litre V6 city driving, not so much. As you're sitting in traffic, you can see the needle dropping. So yeah, that guy is not light on fuel. So what I want to do is dispel the myths and stuff about the 4-liter V6 and give you an ultimate declaration of the fuel usage of that vehicle. And what I'm going to explain to you is how to get the fuel usage that I do. Now, tar road, I was expecting to get 6.3. If I read, lots of the guys, they don't even get 6.3, they get 3 k's to a liter, and then they say no, but they've been driving very, very light on the throttle. And I can tell you now, if you say that, then you don't know how to drive, or there's something wrong with your vehicle, either one of the two. Because I've heard lots of people tell me no, they've driven it very lightly and they can't get better than 6.3 or even 5 or even 3 k's to a liter. And opinions are like arse. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Now that 4-liter V6 is heavier than on juice than most others perhaps, or even some diesel models or whatever the story may be, but if you know how to drive an auto, you can get good economy out of it. What I do is, when I pull away, it's deliberate. I don't sit and pussyfoot around on the pedal. I put it down and let it run, let it get into the gears, because that spooling up, as it were, with you slowly accelerating, you're just creating more revs before the guy starts running. You're wasting fuel. You put your foot down a little bit harder, the car pulls away a bit quicker, and you don't waste revolutions. That's the main thing with auto. You don't waste revolutions. You put it down so it bites in quicker and starts moving more deliberately. And once it's going, then you can ease off a bit, and then you go. Where you slowly put down, because some guys say no, they put down very lightly and they move like that, you're wasting revolutions, thereby wasting fuel. Don't waste revolutions. On the highway, I was expecting to get 6.3. That's what I worked on our way to Gatsrivierx. And I was pleasantly surprised to get 8 k's to a liter. And the car was loaded, right? And first I thought, no, I mustn't exceed 100 kilometers an hour, because that's what most guys say. If you go faster than 100 kilometers an hour, your fuel economy will drop. And mind you, these are the people that say they've been driving lightly. I do 100 kilometers per hour, and I don't get past 7. I get 6.8, 6.9, which was still good for me, because it's above where I estimated it to be, and that's where my fuel calculation was at. But some points I accelerated past 110, close to 120, and it was for quite a bit that I had to do that. And I noticed that the fuel is dropping, the fuel usage is dropping. So I thought, okay, and we continued on that, doing 110, 120, and it kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And just before we turned off to the gravel road to Gatsrivierx, we refueled at Toes River. We did our calculation, 8 k's to a liter. So what is economic driving then? If one guy says no, you must do it like this, one guy says you must do it like that, what is economic driving then? So it's all about your foot, and it's how you play. You must understand mechanically how the vehicle works. If you understand mechanically how the vehicle works, then you can translate that into driving more economically. So my tip, you put your foot down a little bit harder. It might be uncomfortable because the car bites in quickly and wants to pull away, but you're not wasting revolutions, which means you're starting to move quickly, so your revolution rate towards your movement plays off well. You get going, and then from there you ease off a bit. If you're going on the highway, look, if you're doing city driving, there's no good way of driving. I mean, you're gonna get fuel numbers all over the place. I've given up on that. I just know that if I'm going to drive to the city, that needle's gonna drop. I estimate normally a quarter tank for maybe even 5 kilometers. That's how bad it can get. But if you're doing the highway roads and stuff like that, a bit higher speeds and so on, 110, 120 in that gap, even doing 120 is fine. You get very good fuel economy on there. Lock your foot into position. So you get to up to 120 kilometers an hour and you lock your foot in that position. When you hit the up wheel, you don't do that. You keep your foot there. Let the revs go down a bit. Unless it's a very steep uphill and you need to maintain some form of speed, or maybe you need to get from point A to point B relatively in good time, you can give it a little bit more. But with normal little sloping up and down hills, small little terrasse, you keep your foot there in one spot. Also, if there's a downhill before you reach your uphill, give a little bit more juice, because it's not working, the engine's not working, so it's not using all that fuel, but you're creating a scenario where the car moves faster and you use that momentum. You know where you lock your foot there and let it climb up the other side of the hill. So use the downhills to your advantage for the uphills. Gain a bit more speed, climb up, but don't go past that point where your foot is at 120 kilometers an hour. On the flat pieces again, get it to 120 and lock your foot in position again. Downhill, put a bit more, reach into the other side, bring it back a bit and let it run up the hill. I'll tell you now, your fuel economy will go down. You can't say that I'm going down up an uphill, I must put foot. You are going to use more juice. It doesn't matter how you cut it. If you're going to make that engine work, it's going to want fuel. So gravel roads, okay, our vehicle is very much loaded. We had it in 4x4 and yeah, 5.5 is what I estimated. 5.6, 5.5 is what I got. So using that same principle of driving and getting to the point and maintaining a certain speed, not going past 80 kilometers an hour, 5.5 is more or less what you will get. If you can get better than that, please tell me how. Off-road driving, I can't really give you a precise estimate on that, because that will be determined by your terrain, and the fact that I calculated about 3 k's to a liter on the routes, and I got in a gap between 1 k to a liter to 3 k's to a liter doing some of the routes, but it's not really a true reflection, because we were doing filming and everything, so we had the aircon on in most cases, and the vehicle was standing still and idling for quite some time while I was busy setting up and all that stuff. So most of the time it dropped down to about 1 k to a liter, but the places where I reset and we did quite a bit of a stretch where I wasn't filming, I got to 3 k's to a liter, even some cases 4 k's to a liter, so it doesn't do too badly. I wouldn't say it's the best, because that's hardly the case. But if you have 2 jerry cans on the roof and you've calculated your distances, like what I've done, I've calculated the total distance to here and back, I've calculated the terrain, I got a map of the routes from the managers of the farm beforehand, and I could estimate that these are the distances of the routes, and I worked it out on worst case scenario fuel economy, took all that in consideration and calculated that, well, I need about 150 liters of fuel to do this whole thing, and so far I am under where I calculated. So yeah, do that. If I tell you 8 k's to a liter, work on 7 k's to a liter, just to be safe. Rather have too much fuel than too little fuel. And also remember your bingo. If you reach a point, like say you come to Gatsrivierx, there's lots of routes to do here. Say calculate that you're going to do 4 routes or 5 routes, calculate your fuel and get it to a point where you have your 2 jerry cans and your tank, or whatever scenario you have with refueling your vehicle. And don't forget that you still have to return home. Don't use all your fuel doing all the routes and then not have enough fuel to get home, because between here and the closest bit of civilization, people take turns per week to drive past there, as a matter of fact, and people coming towards you probably won't want to turn around and pull you back to where they came from to help you. So, and the chances of getting someone going out from where you are to where civilization is, I mean, you're sitting with a gamble, and you don't want to do that, especially if you've got precious cargo on board, your family. You don't want to sit in a situation like that. Folks, as you can see, the sidewall on the tire, especially if you're doing some rocky roads or trails. Sidewalls are very important. You need to get proper all-terrains that have good sidewall protection. Otherwise, you're in for a bad time. Either that or just drive very slowly and make sure that you try to keep the sidewalls of the vehicle out of harm's way. Don't drive into those dongas that are running perpendicular or parallel to the road. Try to avoid any erosion gutters, I call them. Try to avoid having your wheels run inside them, because the stones stick out from the sides. The weight of the vehicle actually pushes down, forces the tire out. You're moving, it slashes the side of the tire, and there you go, flat wheels. So if you can't afford or you can't put on proper all-terrain tires that have good sidewall protection, just be cognizant of that. Try to keep all four wheels on the highest ground at all times. Then you should be fine. Right. On a side note, these set of tires that I got on here are very good. We've had some good grip with them, especially on the tracks. There's one part where I thought this guy's going to we might have some issues trying to grip, but no issues whatsoever. This guy just climbed over like it was nothing. So tires and car, this combination I think works very well. Doing high speed with a deflated tire, if you forget to re-inflate this tire and you're going to do speeds of 80, 100, 110, even 120, you are going to damage your sidewall and you won't even know it. It's going to be too late when you get to the other side, or you're just going to have a blowout or something like that, you know, light scratch on the side of the vehicle, side on the tire, and it's out. So bear that in mind. Always be mindful of what your tire pressures are. If you can't afford a tire pressure monitor, or you don't have a tire pressure monitor, I don't have one, I just try to remember every time, check my tires, because your tires are the most important part, except for the safety equipment, and one of the most important parts of keeping your vehicle on the road safely. So if you don't think about that and you don't take care of them, you're in for a bad time.